So what is the best way for you as a complete beginner to web design to find your first web design client in today's market? That is what we are going to talk about today. I started my career as a WordPress web designer in 2019, and I have been through a lot of ups and downs, and I'm going to start by telling you how I managed to find my first client and how I managed to find a wrong client and what I do right after I figure out what I did wrong. I found my first client on freelancer.com. But what I did was I started as just WordPress web designer. I found the client paid me a ridiculously low amount of money. I even forgot how much it was, but it was a ridiculously low amount of money. And I worked for them. And I did that on freelancer.com. I found about, I think, 5 clients on freelancer.com, and I did all the work for them. But 2 of them gave me 1-star review, bad written review, and they disputed the payment. I ended up not getting the payment. So it was a disaster, really, when I got started in 2019. Until later, I figured what I was doing wrong, and I fixed everything, and I ended up building my career. Later, I transitioned to virtual assistants. So I'm going to give you some steps, detailed steps that you can follow as a complete beginner to web design to have the best chance of finding your first client the right way, without messing things up and without doing it wrong and making it harder for yourself to find the right one. And the very first step is learn. This is non-negotiable. Learn the skills really well. Be comfortable and confident about your own skills to deliver the job for client. The mistake I made when I started is I didn't have the right skills. I built one website in my life when I started offering WordPress web design to a client. And I even built the website for myself because at the time I wanted to try blogging, and I need a website to do blogging, and I couldn't afford to pay a web designer to build it for me. So I watched some tutorials on YouTube, and I managed to set up one website, and I started writing articles. When blogging didn't work, and I just started freelance web design with only one website experience, and the website isn't even that good. And that is why when I started, I find client, I did a bad job. You want to avoid this, because when you are just getting started, if you end up finding a client and the client give you 1-star review on a freelancer platform, it's just going to make your life a lot harder on the platform. So learn the skills. Spend all the time you need into learning all the tools, Elementor, Breezy Builder, how to use the themes, how to set up things, how to do this and that. Spend all the time you need and be comfortable and confident about your skills first. When you have the skills, you know that you have the skills, then the next step is create work samples. Work sample is simply what is going to convince your potential client you know what you are doing. When you start sending proposals to potential client, if you have 0 previous experience, they are going to be afraid. They are going to feel uncomfortable with hiring you because they don't really know if you can do the job right. That is why you need to create work samples. What I recommend is, since you are a beginner, nobody hire you to do the work for them, just do the work as if someone hired you to do it for them. That is why it's very important to have your own website if you are starting WordPress web design. Because if you have your own website, you can create pages on your own website, and you can create landing pages that can serve as your work sample. Simply just search online, find some template, find some website that you like, that you think they look good, and you try as much as possible to copy the website on your own website, to copy at least the home pages, the landing pages on your own website. When you copy the landing pages, try to make it better, change it up, and make it your own. This is the way that you can sharpen your skills, be better at what you do, and you will also have work samples that can easily be verified. Because if you create the landing pages on your own website and you share a link to the work sample with your potential client, when the potential client see that the page is on your own website, they know that you made it. They know that you didn't just search on the internet and find a link and share it with them. So this is also non-negotiable. You have to create work samples that are going to prove to your potential client you know what you are doing. The next advice I'm going to give you is, if you want to make it easier for you to find client, try to niche down a little. You see, when I started offering WordPress web design, when I left freelancer.com because I messed it up, I started on Fiverr. I noticed every single time when I see a project on Fiverr and I want to send a proposal, if the client is looking for a WordPress web designer, within 1 or 2 hours, I will see 50 to 100 proposals. So that is very competitive. And I kept sending proposals. I never even hear back from a potential client until I changed my strategy. Instead of offering WordPress web design, I started offering WordPress landing page design. And when I started doing that, I see a difference, because when a client is looking for a WordPress web designer, you are going to see 50 to 100 proposals within 1 hour. But if they are looking for a WordPress landing page designer, you are going to see around 20 proposals. So you see, you reduce the level of competition a lot. And that is how I was able to find my first few client on Fiverr. And after I found my first few client as a landing page designer, then I started offering WordPress web design, because at that time, I have the skills, I have the experience, I have some reviews on my profile that is going to prove to clients that I know what I am doing, so I can compete with other people. But if you are just getting started, you cannot compete with most people, because you just don't have anything to show. And that is why I try to niche down a little. The next step is create a portfolio. A portfolio is what is going to, is like your personal showcase. Is what is going to have your picture, your name, a short introduction of yourself and what you do, and all the work samples that you are proud of, and also a way for people to contact you. It's very important to have a portfolio. If you are offering, since you are offering WordPress web design, you shall have your portfolio on a WordPress website. You shall buy a domain name, buy a hosting account, and set up your website on WordPress. This is the best. But if you cannot afford to build your website on WordPress for whatever reason, if you cannot afford hosting, then you can create your portfolio on a platform like Dribbble or Behance.net. If you create your account there, you can upload all your work samples, so that when you are sending proposals to potential client, you can include one link to your portfolio, and when they click on the link, they can see all your work samples in one place. This is very important. Having this kind of portfolio that is attractive is what is going to convince clients to hire you. Because if I am looking for someone to build a website for me, and you send me a link to a sample that you created, I take a look at it and I really like that sample, I am going to want to hire you. And if I am sure you built it and I know I like it, then I'm just going to hire you, because you have what I want. The next step is utilize freelancing platforms. I know many people do cold outreach, but if you are just getting started as a WordPress web designer, it is going to be more challenging to find the right people to send cold outreach emails or messages to. That is why my advice is to focus on freelancing platforms. Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer.com. Spend enough time into learning how these platforms work, how to create your account, how to upload your work samples, how to even present yourself on the platform. Learn how they work and put enough time and energy into building your account on those platforms. The next thing is writing proposal. No matter where you find a client, the initial message that you send to them is your proposal, so you shall make it count. Learn how to write a proposal that is going to be interesting to client. Don't write a big essay, and don't write few lines, and don't just copy text from ChatGPT and send to client. Try and understand, if you see a project on a freelancing platform, understand what the client is looking for. If you understand that their focus is lead generation, or their focus is speed, or their focus is SEO, then write your proposal and focus your proposal on that. And always in your proposal, include a link to your portfolio where they can see all your work samples, the work samples that you are proud of. And close your proposal with a call to action. What I used to do in my proposal when I was working as a WordPress web designer, at the end of my proposal, I always close with, I have some questions and details I need to discuss further. Please message me so as to start as soon as possible. And a lot of the times, clients respond with, what are your questions? Even if I don't really have much questions, I close with this, and I receive a response from a client that, what is your question? And then I will just ask them questions like, what is your timeline? What are your goals for this project? The goal is to just get them to respond and start a conversation. So these are the steps that I believe if you follow, you repeat, you stay consistent, you are going to find your first web design client as a complete beginner. And if you want to learn more about the best tools that you can learn to improve your web design skills, you can watch this next video. If you find this video helpful, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. I will see you in the next one.